We are becoming less socially connected. And that's not an opinion. It's a fact. But thanks to this guy, maybe we can address the problem before it gets worse. Maybe. This is Dr. Vivek Murthy. He is the United States Surgeon General, and his job is to make sure that Americans are healthy and stay healthy. On his website, he has a list of priorities. His number one and most important priority is social connection. Not only has he literally written a book on this topic, but last year he published an advisory called Our Epidemic of Loneliness and Isolation. And that advisory convinced me that social connection is one of our biggest problems. In this video, I'm going to share some of the things I learned from the report about loneliness. I'm also going to talk about some of the solutions that have been suggested to help solve this problem of social disconnection. I'm also going to share some facts and some stats that I learned from the report. But first, I want to clarify the difference between something, which is feeling lonely, being alone, and social disconnection. There's nothing wrong with being alone. A lot of people, including myself, love spending time alone. I get to focus on my hobbies, do things like this video. I spend time with my thoughts, and I do some meditation. I think through things, and I just really like spending that time in solitude. There's also nothing inherently wrong with feeling lonely, as a matter of fact. In the book Atlas of the Heart by Brené Brown, she talks about a guy named John Cacioppo. John Cacioppo was the founder of a field called social neuroscience. He explains that our brains warn us when our ability to thrive and prosper are threatened. So when we feel hungry, for example, that is our brain warning us that our blood sugar is low and we need to eat. When we feel thirsty, our brain's warning us that we are at the risk of dehydration. And the feeling of loneliness is no different. When we feel lonely, that's our brains telling us that we need social connection, something as critical to our health as food and water. And denying that we feel lonely makes no more sense than denying that we feel hungry. The problem, unfortunately, is this feeling of shame that we have associated with the feeling of loneliness. And Cacioppo explains that he thinks it's because of the way we've looked at loneliness in the past. We've equated it with shyness or lack of social skills, which has made people want to regress and protect themselves rather than reach out for social connection when they feel that way. You see, we are social creatures, and being socially disconnected affects our health in very real ways. Loneliness or social disconnection is associated with a greater risk of cardiovascular disease, dementia, stroke, depression, anxiety, and premature death. The physical impact of being socially disconnected is similar to the health impact caused by smoking up to 15 cigarettes a day. And that's worse than the mortality impact of obesity and physical inactivity. I started this video by saying that we're becoming less socially connected. And I think to some extent we can all kind of feel this, right? But it's a whole nother thing to see the numbers. In 1972, roughly 45% of Americans felt like they could reliably trust other Americans. And in 2016, that number fell from 45% to 30%. The average time an individual spent alone increased from about 142 hours a month in 2003 to 155 hours a month in 2019. That's an increase of about 12 hours a month on average that people are spending by themselves. In 1990, 27% of people reported having 3 or fewer close friends. In 2021, that number grew from 27% to 49%. One of the ways we measure community involvement is by measuring the percentage of Americans that belong to a church, a synagogue, or a mosque. In 1999, that was about 70% of Americans. And in 2020, the number has fallen to 47% of Americans. Now, religious preferences aside, the fact is that these religious spaces served as a community of support. They provided meaning and purpose, and they gave a sense of belonging. Maybe the world is becoming less religious, and maybe you're okay with that. But the issue is, we did not replace that feeling of belonging for these 23% of Americans that no longer belong to one of these organizations. My intent isn't to scare people by sharing this information or make you feel bad for feeling lonely, which, to be clear, is a feeling that we all have and is very natural and is very normal. The point here is to demonstrate how important social connection is to us and why it's so important that we address this issue before it becomes too late. The good thing is that addressing this issue is sort of a win-win, right? If you decide to help your community become more socially connected, you also benefit from that, and we can all grow and benefit from it together, which, by the way, is the name of Dr. Murphy's book that he wrote on this topic. To address this, we want to focus on quality over quantity of relationships, because trying to address social connection by only focusing on isolation is limiting. Just because someone is surrounded by a lot of people does not mean that those relationships are fulfilling. It kind of reminds me of how famous people will sometimes complain about feeling lonely, even though they seem to be surrounded by thousands of people. Or how people complain about having to go have dinner on Thanksgiving with their family. Not all relationships are created equal. To really understand social connection, the report breaks it up into 3 vital components: structure, function, and quality. Structure is a number and variety of relationships and the frequency of interactions, like the household size, your friend circle, marital partnership status, etc. Function is the degree to which relationships serve various needs, such as emotional support, mentorship, or support in a crisis. Quality is the positive and negative aspects of relationships and interactions, such as relationship satisfaction, relationship strain, social inclusion, or social exclusion. The report also emphasizes that social connection is a continuum. Someone is not socially connected or socially disconnected. There's somewhere in the middle. And your level of social connection is also dynamic. It's not the same throughout your entire life. You might feel more socially connected when you were in college and maybe less socially connected soon after. Social connectivity changes over the span of our lives, much like any other measure of our health. So, what do? How do we solve this problem? And that's the thing about this report, is that it actually has solutions. And they broke up the solutions into categories based on organizations or individual types. So if you belong to any one of these categories or belong to an organization that falls into one of these categories, there's specific information for how you can help address this problem in your own community. I am, however, going to talk about some of the solutions that are recommended for individuals, because these are things that you and I can do today to build more social connection in our personal lives and in our communities. Here are essentially my top 5, in no particular order. Number 1, understand the power of social connection and the consequences of social disconnection. Now, if you made it this far, you're doing great. You already learned a lot about social connection and social disconnection, and you have some resources linked below that you can learn even more if you need to. You can also help others learn by maybe sharing this video or sharing the links below so that they can also learn and be educated on this idea of social connection. Number 2, invest time in nurturing your relationships through consistent, frequent, and high-quality engagement with others. In this recommendation, Dr. Murphy's team recommends that you take time out of each day to send a message and connect with one close friend or family. Just one person. One. Reach out to them, see how it's going. I actually do this a lot, and I really do enjoy it. Anytime someone comes to my mind that I haven't talked to in a while, I'll reach out to them. And if you want an idea of what to say, you can literally say, hey, I was just thinking about you and I wanted to see how you're doing. It's important that when they respond, and usually they'll ask how you're doing, that you be honest about it. You know, no one is just fine, even though we say it all the time. Share a little struggle, a little piece of success in your life that week, and it'll help them open up as well. And it'll make the interaction a more high quality one. 3, minimize distractions during conversations. This is a hard one for us, it seems. When you're out to dinner with someone, you're having a conversation with someone, put your phone away. Either put it on silent, put it face down. Try to give the person your full attention. This will make them feel like they're being listened to, and it'll also make the interaction a little bit more fulfilling for both of you. My friends and I do something when we go out for dinner sometimes where we'll stack each other's phones in the middle of the table so that no one's tempted to reach for their phone randomly, and if they do, we shame them. It's a lighthearted way to sort of make sure that we're all being present, but it's a good idea. Number 4, seek out opportunities to help others. Now, you can do this by volunteering. You can literally do this by shoveling your neighbor's driveway. Anything that you can think of that can help someone in your community, whether it's a stranger or someone you know personally, any way that you can lend a hand to help them out, we'll pretty much do. Number 5, participate in social or community groups. This is a harder one if you're not used to being social or if you're an introvert, But try to find things that you're interested in that happen in your community. Some things I've come across that work really well for me personally are open mic nights. Even if you don't want to go perform, it's kind of a nice community of people that go to these things, and you kind of get to know people that go to them, and then eventually you become friends with them. A friend of mine started something called Bookish recently, where she essentially invites a lot of people to bring a book of your choice and meet at some local restaurant or coffee shop, and everyone just shows up and they just read. It's very simple, but people really enjoy it, and it's actually a big hit. We also have something in my community where some people meet every Tuesday at a local bar, and they go for a run, and after the run, they kind of hang out at the bar and just like chit chat with each other. So find these opportunities to just like connect with people in your community in ways that, you know, make you feel comfortable. Definitely make sure you find something that makes you feel comfortable, makes you feel welcome, because not every community space is for everyone. So try a few things, see what you like, and what you don't like, you can let go. So those are just a few examples. I have to remind you that there are so many resources, especially on the website from Dr. Murthy's team. So I encourage you to go read the website. People who are much more intelligent than me have put together some amazing resources for you to learn about social connectivity and also learn how you can develop it in your own community. I hope this has convinced you that this is an important problem in our community, but it's also something that we're capable of solving. So take this information, share this with your friends and family so that they can also be educated and join some community groups and have a good time and build some relationships. I know I say this all the time, but I really do mean it. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like and subscribe or share with others. Goodbye.